and it let out this blood-curdling, guttural scream.
On the side of the road, he sees a deer carcass and something eating on it, which he thought was a bear. And as the lights hit it, it stood up. And, like, this gives me chills talking about it. He said it stood up and it had the face of a man.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Friday Night Bigfoot Live, right here at the Bigfoots of America podcast show. I'm your host, Bryan Sawyer, coming at ya. So excited to be here. You know, I always say this, and I got to say it one more time. Every time I think I'm going to run out of material or stuff to talk about, I just look at my desk here and how it's covered. Brenda Goodwin, who's going to be coming in here in a moment, I owe her a t-shirt. I've got two people out there. I owe you bumper stickers. Well, a lot of that's going to get handled tomorrow. The bumper stickers will. Brenda, next month we get our next shipment of merchandise in, and we'll talk about that. And then we'll start giving out free merchandise on the show. And then on the flip side, part of our job here is to try to keep everybody at home current with any kind of sightings. Now, that's not going to happen every week, but here at Bigfoots of America, Bigfoots of Michigan, we've been very blessed and fortunate with all of our eyewitnesses. And so I just want to shout out to all of our eyewitnesses, starting here in Michigan and then even going nationwide, because it seems like every time I think I'm going to come to the end of something, all I got to do is dig in and go, you know what? I am constantly behind. And that goes for season 3. Everybody at home, season 3. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But people like Susan Moore, you've been very patient with me in releasing your episodes. So season 3 is coming. So excited. So excited. I love doing it. It's a passion. And the biggest thing is the community that we've brought together. We have, a Bigfoot paranormal family right here at the Bigfoots of America podcast show. And I just can't thank all of our eyewitnesses enough. And with that said, I'm going to bring in my two moderators who I have to commend. I don't mean this, anyone listening, I don't mean this in a bad way, because everyone is spectacular. But these girls, their loyalty, like, they're not getting paid or anything like that, but they are on it all the time. And I appreciate them so much. And with that said, they're the moderators of our private group, the Bigfoots of Michigan TV series and the Bigfoots of America podcast show. It's a private group on Facebook. If you didn't know that, go ahead, find it. Just try to get in the group. You've got to answer some questions, and then we'll pass you through. We just don't want a lot of freaks. So, yeah, check us out. Facebook. Follow me on Facebook, Bryan Sawyer. Go to our YouTube channel, Bigfoot of America or Dash Michigan. We're on YouTube. We're on all the social media platforms. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, a few others. We've really been going at it. Our platform keeps increasing. We're not like jumping like warp speed, but we are increasing every week. And there is some pretty interesting stuff coming up in 2026. We have a goal to make this a legitimate TV show. The whole TV pilot series thing we've been doing for the past 3-4 years, to get that on a platform like Hulu, or it may be Roku. So we're working on some stuff right now. That's all I'm going to say right now. But yeah, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Gonna go ahead and bring in Cheri, Radu, Brenda Goodwin, the two moderators I was just talking about. Their loyalty is impeccable. They have done nothing but help me. They've been selfless in giving out their stories, collecting information on their own, and then pouring it into the show. So that was my dream from the beginning. I don't believe any man's an island, and I believe, a community together is much stronger. So let's go ahead and bring them in. Brenda Goodwin, what's going on, girl?
Oh, excited to be here. And you're welcome.
Aw, thank you, Brenda. Hey, Cheri, what's going on?
Hey, I'm just rocking it over here, bud.
Cool. So, yeah, once again, thank you, ladies, so much. You're always there when I need a hand, and I really, really appreciate it.
Well, it's certainly a pleasure, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I can't tell you how much I enjoy the private group and learning things from other people, and it's comfortable there that people can discuss their encounters without getting harassed by naysayers and hecklers and people calling us crazy and stuff, and we can share our opinions about topics and without fear of retaliation or anything like that. It's a safe space.
Without a doubt. And to a big shout out to Cheryl Green. Cheryl Green doesn't come on the show. She's more of an introvert, but man, we talk at least once a week, and she's updating me on information and all of that. All right, kids, I'm looking on our Facebook channel, looking on our YouTube channel. I want to make sure I field all the questions. Oh, very cool, very cool. Looking on Facebook, Brian Russell says hello. My good friend, lifelong friend. Oh my gosh, I was a dishwasher at a restaurant years ago, and Val was the chef there. She says, "Hey, Brian," so it's nice. Nora Scott, we got to talk about Nora Scott and her friend Deanna. We have recent activity with them. I want to make sure when people send me stuff that I read it verbatim so I get the story straight. But Nora Scott says, "Hello, beautiful day to everyone." George Lunsford, glad to see you're okay. Yes, we are well. George, that is George. I'm going tomorrow, George. So this is about the Wendigo, everybody. We've had a Wendigo sighting here in Michigan. It is north of me, about a half hour, 45 minutes. I was going to try to swing it today, but I slept. I had drool all over me till 4 p.m. I worked midnights. And so I'm like, oops, I missed that today. So tomorrow I'm getting up there. We're going to get some film footage. We're going to bring that to this show. And of course, the NCI show. And everybody at home too, man. Like and subscribe to the NCI show. That's North Carolina Investigates on YouTube. I'm there with the team, the North Carolina Investigators team, every Tuesday and Thursday. So check them out, like and subscribe. So yeah, George, that's what's going on there. Scott Brush says, "Hey, buddy." Scott, I'm glad you're on today because Scott Brush brought out a very, he's a thinker. Like I'm a deep thinker too, but then I got to move on to the next thing so I don't get behind. Where Scott goes a little bit deeper than me. And one of the things that Scott Brush brought out today, and I wish Matthew Sexton was on today because I want Matt Sexton to hear this as well. Donna Copa says, "Hello, everyone." George Lunsford. All right, everybody. Good
Hello, everybody.
Yeah. We'll see if anybody's on YouTube. Hey, Deanna Rakestraw. Deanna, that's your last name. I was like, Nora Scott and Deanna Rakestraw have a episode coming up in season 3, and we'll talk about them in a moment because I got to get back to Scott Brush. And I think the Nora Scotts, the Deannas, the Matt Sextons, Cheri, Radu, I came into this going, okay, all Bigfoot are evil and they're going to eat us and they're part of the end times and all of that. Scott Brush and George Lunsford, everybody together has kind of put a light bulb in on my brain. What if sometime Bigfoot gets a bad rap as being evil when they're not? When maybe they're just kind of caught in the middle? I understand the Christian narrative. I've talked about it before. What is that? Luke 21:11. In the original Greek, it basically says, hey, in the last days, there will be monsters and quote unquote fearful sights, but interpreted phobotron in the original Greek means monsters. And then also things coming from the heavens, apo, which means skies or heavenly, these strange sights which will be coming down. And that could be UFOs. So basically, Jesus was saying, hey, in those last days, the time before the end, you're going to see monsters and you're going to see UFOs. So I'm not real versed on the whole alien thing, but Bigfoot, is he getting a bad rap sometime? And Scott Brush brought up the point of, hey, maybe Bigfoot's getting a bad rap, and then some of this activity that we attribute to Bigfoot, some of this evil activity, it could be demonic forces or some kind of other spirits. And I thought, you know what? That is a wonderful idea because we actually have a little bit of evidence for that. And I'm going to try to find it right now in this pile. This is heavy, people. This is what I'm doing tomorrow. You've heard this before, but I want to read it to you again. Cheri is like, Bryan, you got to be careful. Don't go. Don't go. I know Donna Copus is like, hey, watch it. All my wonderful friends are like, hey, be careful. So I'm not allowed to give out the eyewitness. I'm not allowed to give out the exact location. But here's what I can say in the Port Austin area. Okay? That is the tip of the thumb for you at home. So my eyewitness starts off as this. The house I lived in and that I left after the death of my fiance in 2013, I told her, okay, I got to growl right now. Now, a lot of times I don't tell people this. I have sounds, and this is something we're going to talk about today, girls. I don't tell people at home. Yeah, I've got dogs next door, but you know when they're out and they're always on a leash, okay? I just heard a growl right behind my garage over here to my left. And it's the same kind of growl I've heard before at my bedroom window. It is not a, ooh, I'm going to kill you growl. It's a, hey, we're here growl. And this is the paranormal side. This is the side we've talked about before that when you see Sasquatch, sometimes they will come home to your house and they'll visit you. They're checking you out. Cheri, Radu, you've had that happen with your Sasquatch Naboo. I believe it's Scout when it comes to my house. I've shown you Scout's picture before. All right, I just heard a bang.
I have activity sometimes when we're talking about them.
Yes.
On the live.
So without a doubt, that is what's so cool about our group. And then Nora Scott and Dana Rakestraw, their activity has heightened. It seems like our group is having heightened activity since we've gotten together and we've all talked about it. So it's from, I always say this, the Mothman Prophecies. That's the saying, the line from that movie is, you notice them and they notice that you notice them. And so then they start kind of giving you a visit at home. And I know, excuse me, that freaks out a lot of people at home. But, and this is my guy Scout. He's peeking out from behind that tree. I got that from an area just east of me. He barked at me, and they get used to me gifting, and he barked at me. And it's from the area I call the Garden of Eden. And yeah, so that is Scout. And I believe he's the prime one that visits my house sometime. He's the one who's given me the mind speak at home. And for everybody at home who's freaking out, and this is why we're talking about this, the light versus the dark.
Tapping on my metal awning outside my window right now.
Whoa.
They've done that sometimes. Cheri and I have talked about that.
So it's like they're connected somehow. Bev Strato says, good evening, Cheri, Brenda, and Boom Boom. Good to see you, Bev.
Oh, hang on. Never mind. It's rain.
Okay.
It's rain.
Deanna Rakestraw says hello.
But that's what it sounds like when they do it. It sounds
Yeah.
they've done it when it's not been raining, and I think that is like the bottom of that is about 8 feet high, the bottom of the metal awning outside the
Okay.
window.
Oh.
And I've heard it being tapped on when it's not raining. But it sounds like a tap and then a wait and then another tap, and it's okay, well, what's outside there tapping on that metal? But well, right now it's rained, so
Awesome.
jump the gun. Sorry.
No, that's what we want to hear. We want to kind of get this stuff out. I haven't seen them looking in the windows yet. I know I've got a TV up here now, and sometimes I'm going to leave it running. I had heard a story one time that there was one particular eyewitness. He got to where the point where he put a big screen TV in his garage, and then during the summertime, he'd leave the garage door open so the Bigfoot would stand outside and just kind of watch TV. And then if you talk to people like Angie Elizabeth, who, her depth, in fact, like and subscribe her YouTube channel as well. It's Beauties in the Bigfoot on YouTube. I follow her, and she has such an in-depth level of a relationship status with Sasquatch, with the clan around her house. But yeah, that growl was amazing. It's, I can feel it in my chest, and when you hear it, it's like I always say, you don't sit there and go, oh, I wonder if that was a Bigfoot. No, you're like, okay, that's different than anything I've heard before. But what we're talking about here, the light versus the dark, what Scott Brush has brought to light, what George Lunsford has brought to light, is just because there's all these different types of cryptids or paranormal things that we don't fully understand yet doesn't mean that they're all evil. It's just that we don't fully understand them. And then when he said that reminded me of the sense of, I think even in the Book of Giants or Book of Monsters, one of these side books of the first book of Enoch, there was even that, I believe I read a short little chapter where it said, that some of these giants from the ancient times petitioned the Almighty God, and basically Almighty God said, hey, you didn't have a choice in being born. Just basically, as my dad used to say, keep your noses clean, and, you're not going to have the hammer come down on you. All right, ladies. Thank you so much. So let's get back to the Wendigo. So the Wendigo sighting I'm going to tomorrow. I am not going on the property, everybody. I'm not going on the property. I'm not going in and kicking down doors, okay? And I'm not going to be stupid about this. I'm going to do a drive-by. I'm probably going to do a live video. And with that said, thank you, George Lunsford. Let me pull up a quick little read-through of the Wendigo. I say this all the time, get this book, because there are cryptids. I was joking with George Lunsford before. I'm like, what's a raven mocker? There's some creature called a raven mocker. I'm like, is that the offspring of a Wendigo and the Jersey Devil? Because it sure sounds like it from the description. All right, we're going to look up Wendigo here this is called Monsters of the World, reference guide by George Lunsford. I'm looking for Wendigo because I want to read the breakdown. Wendigo, chapter 92, is on page 241. Now, Sasquatch, we label him as, let's get him, he's kind of in his own classification, possible human hybrid along the Neanderthal lines. Sure, there could be possible Nephilim DNA in there somewhere. Having to deal with something happen. That's crazy. I had feedback like I've never had before. I just heard myself speak through my own speakers.
I heard you speak in someone else's voice. Did you hear that, Cheri?
Yes, I did. I heard that.
It
And I
was
was
someone else's voice.
Okay. My fairy sighting, everybody, really quick. I won't go through the whole thing again. I see that it speaks to me. I see it. Once it realizes I can see it, it shoots across the room into an electrical junction box with a spark. So these paranormal beings have abilities that we don't have. They're able to step in possibly to the next dimension next to us. They're able to transition into our electrical lines or through our electrical signals, waves, whatever. That's how deep this stuff gets. And that's why we love doing this, because it's so freaking crazy. All right, 241, we're going to get back to the Wendigo. So Sasquatch, we can logically say, we can kind of put him in the light category. So the dark versus the light. That's our theme tonight. Sasquatch, to me, can go into the light category until proven bad. But we know there have been some bad accounts. So like people, there's good ones and evil ones. The Wendigo, however, is thought to be completely evil. Right, ladies? You agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Here's
They
the breakdown by
people.
George Lunsford. The Wendigo is a horrifying creature of the Algonquin culture who devours human flesh to survive in harsh winter. One story says the first ever Wendigo was a lost hunter. During a brutally cold winter, the man's intense hunger drove him to cannibalize or cannibalism. After feasting on another human's flesh, he transformed into a crazed man-beast, roaming the forest in search of more people to eat. In another version of the story, the first Wendigo is said to have been a warrior who made a deal with the devil. In order to save his tribe, he gave up his soul and was transformed into a Wendigo. And that kind of, doesn't that correlate to like with a skinwalker, ladies?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me pull up. I want to make sure I get some of these comments on the Facebook channel. I always lose it when I go back out or I show a picture. All right, Tracy Lynn says she's enjoying the show. Yes, Donna Copa says there is good and bad in everything. And I think that's the best way to say it, right, ladies? There's good and bad in everything.
Yes.
Oh, that says I'm in Kentucky where from the fam. Okay, Val, I'm in Kentucky where we're from, and my family's property, they have always talked about Bigfoot down there. Okay, down in Kentucky, yes. Hey, Jerry Lou Patterson, good to have you on. You're going to have to pronounce that one. Scott Brush, what do you mean by post-eclipse behavior? I don't know what that means. Donna Copa says the juvenile that's been hanging around my house likes to hit the house and look in the window. So we got, well, multiple stories of Sasquatches looking in windows, watching TV. I think they watch people. I think at times, man, you might be making dinner or washing dishes at the sink and you got that window there and they're out there watching us. Michael Merrill says, hello, Brian. All right, we just had, an electricity little flicker here. And it could be the storms. We're not getting all crazy. Val says, my ex-husband worked nights ever since we had met. He just retired. Okay, not sure what that was about, Val. Oh, wait a minute. George Lunsford just said there are tornadoes in Michigan. All right, so if we lose power, I know the growl wasn't a tornado, but maybe a lot of the electrical stuff is going on.
Yeah, I've got thunder here too.
Scott Brush has a wonderful. Okay, that is a light above me. That's interesting. Scott Brush says, I try to look at it like free will versus programming. Sasquatch are intelligent and decisive. They can make conscious decisions. Dogman, you tend to see more of the program. Ooh, good stuff. See, programmed. What happened to the Joe Barger story with the Dogman? It was an asset.
Yes. Wow, Brian.
All right, so we got some light flickering on. So tomorrow I'm supposed to go see the Wendigo. We'll get back to that. Hey, Robin Martin says, hey, Bryan, Cheri, Brenda, and chat on Facebook feed.
Hello.
Good to talk to you.
Hello.
Scott Brush is elaborating. We just had that eclipse the other day, that planetary behavior. They called it the parade of planets.
Mhm.
That affects cryptids as well, is what he's saying. Nora Scott says, yes, hello, everybody. I'm just trying to catch up on all the comments. Hey, everyone. Hey, everyone. All right. And Bev Strada and Nora. Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry. Trying to get this down. Nora says, Bryan, they want to interact with us. Teach us. Doggone it. Teach us to teach others. So that makes sense to know that they're all not bad. And for Bigfoot, I think they always want to be more or less left alone. They don't want our sicknesses. Hey, Ed Rock, hello from South Carolina. Ed Rock, he has a wonderful episode on our YouTube channel. So check out Ed Rock, his encounters with Sasquatch. Robin is on here. She heard another voice. Ooh, so she heard a voice through the speakers, must have been. All right, Brenda dropped out. So she comes back in. Let's get her back in. We got some crazy stuff going on. It seems different tonight, though, not like the old problems.
I'm
Hey,
back.
Brenda. Good to have you.
Yeah, when my power went out, flicked out, my Wi-Fi went out, so I had to turn on my mobile data.
Oh, gotcha. All right, so we're going to continue on here. Tomorrow, live video sometime during the day. I'm going to do, Donna Copa says, Bryan Russell, he's awesome. Bryan Russell, here's what I can say about Bryan Russell. He gives me so much information and such a good friend. He says, I think with Bigfoot, sometimes when someone is gifting or providing food and then quit, Bigfoot would act out due to the absence of the gifted food and getting labeled as bad. That is a great one because Val Savala had told me about a story about where there was a piece of land. Now, there was some residential homes not too far. There was a piece of land where this one individual kept gifting peanut butter. He was even taking a case at a time out there. Then he got sick and bedridden for a while. And the next thing they know, the nearest house is getting pelted by all these empty peanut butter jars. So kind of like the shit in the pond, Brenda. You know, they're going to shit where they want to. It's like, hey, where's our peanut butter, pal?
Yep.
Right? Hold on, guys. I'm messing.
I'm
got to
go
follow
grab
that
a
up.
light in case my electricity goes off.
Well, that's kind of funny, Bryan, when you say that about the Bigfoots, because the crows do the same thing, and they're a very intelligent bird. You know, they show the ability to be able to put puzzles together and, you know, open jars and things like that. I mean, they're very, very intelligent, and, you know, so are Bigfoot, right?
Yes.
So they make me laugh because if I forget to give them their peanuts, they're out there screaming, "Hey, I want my peanuts!" You know.
So,
and
what is the?
someone
I
said
wanna
they have
learn-
facial
Go ahead.
recognition for up to 3-5 years. They can remember people's faces.
Yeah, and they will communicate it with their other fellow crows. That's a nice person. So
I wonder what the ratio, like, I have to learn more about crows now. And then if
Well,
some are
they're
ravens, aren't
fascinating.
ravens a little bit bigger? What's
Yes,
that, Cheri?
they're a little bigger. Ravens are bigger, you know, just a little slightly bigger. But they look similar. They're just as smart. I have a raven and a crow that befriended me, and he'll follow me. He'll follow me as I'm driving down the road. He'll still follow me.
That's cool.
Yeah, and they'll wait for me to come home. They know what time I'm coming home, and they'll wait there perched, waiting for their peanuts. And It's
Okay.
just the cutest thing.
Cool.
Mhm.
All right, Donna Copus says, yes, the moon affects the emotional behavior, and the eclipse definitely causes attitude and unpredictable behavior. Good stuff at home. Robin, okay, last was her on Heard Another Voice. I just described, I'm sorry, I thought I had done that so much earlier. Really enjoying the show. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Blessings from us and Archangel Michael to give power to your shield and sword you as you embark on this journey to look into all of this and learn more. Robin says, I think, wait, did I read that right? Oh, okay. This is important to me. I read something that Angie Elizabeth wrote on her YouTube channel, Beauties and the Bigfoot, and she hit the nail on the head. And this is part of the reason for every woman, if you haven't described or subscribed to Angie's channel, go ahead and do that. It's because women experience Bigfoot differently than men. We are naturally more aggressive. Men seem to be more prone to grab the gun and shoot everything that moves. And I love that we're protectors and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes we can go too far, and Bigfoot have families and all of that. So they're a little bit more wary than we are. So Angie had written that the women, you women, experience Bigfoot differently, and it's probably off the bat more a peaceful nature initially than men, because with men they're like, okay, this guy got a boomstick, is he going to come after me? All of that. All right, so Wendigo and George's book, they are malevolent. Ooh, come on. They are malevolent, a large creature. Hey, ladies, can you still see me right now?
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm reading the comments. I'm trying to get better at all this, and I hope it's better when I finally get a laptop. Wendigo in George's book, they are malevolent, a large creature as tall as a tree with lipless mouth and jagged teeth, and they eat any man, woman, child who ventured into its territory. So, yes, thank you for that, Ed. Many different stories. The translation of the word Wendigo from George's book means the evil spirit that devours mankind. With that said, and I talked about this on the NCI show, and this what gave me the idea of the dark versus the light for the theme for this episode. How many of you out there have had angel encounters? I know I have.
I've seen one.
Tell us about it.
I was I had a mobile home, and I was experiencing a bad storm like tonight. I had a couple Australian shepherds. I had a little runt one. She was especially afraid of the lightning and thunder, and it was striking close. And she jumped up on my lap, and she was shaking, and it was close. I was nervous myself. I started praying, and I happened to look down my hallway to the bedroom, and there was a real close flash of light, and then in that flash of light, I saw a bluish angel figure right in my hallway as I looked down the hallway, and then the next flashlight, it was gone, but the lightning was striking real close by. But yeah, I saw that angel. It was a bluish angel figure
On your property. I'm just kind of covering.
Yeah, in my mobile home. Yeah.
All right. In case you didn't know, at home, Brenda lives on what I call the Michigan Skinwalker Ranch. It is some kind of epicenter of portals, different types of paranormal activity, from Bigfoot, Dogman, flying saucers. She even looked out her window at one time, saw a cloaked figure like you would see in the Predator movie. So yeah, gosh, Brenda. What about you, Cheri? Any kind of angel encounters?
Probably, I wouldn't call them angelic. I've had spiritual encounters.
Okay.
On the side, I would say more spirit guides, not angelic
Okay.
in that regard.
Okay.
And that might be because of my heritage. So I don't, we would call them more spirit guides.
Okay.
But
My most prominent one, and as we label things evil or get things in their proper category, I was traveling with my friends. I was in my late teens, so probably around 18 years of age. Was working for a restaurant. Been there since I was 13. Very family orientated. So of course the owner let me use his van to load up all my buddies and go on a trip to Cedar Point. So imagine a bunch of teenage guys. We load up. Man, there had to be at least 10 of us. And, that van is packed. It's like a cargo van. So everybody's sitting around in the back. We even brought chairs in. I'm driving. Well, we all started drinking like teenage boys do. Okay. Now I'm driving, so I'm not drinking, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to be cool. And then on the way to Cedar Point, if you live here in Michigan and you take I think it's the Oregon route, like Highway 2 or something, I can't remember, 2 or 7. You don't take the turnpike, you take the Oregon route. There's a McDonald's there. And so we'd go every year. So we'd make a pit stop at McDonald's, get breakfast, and, we're going to try to get there by the time the park opens. Well, my buddies are starting to drink already. It's morning. We're getting loud and crazy. Get to McDonald's, get my order. We're inside the restaurant. I go over to a corner spot to sit down, and I'm by myself. And I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to start drinking here in a little bit, and I should be good with driving and this and that. And all of a sudden, an old man with the lightest blue colored eyes you can ever imagine, out of nowhere, walks up to me and says the one thing you could say to get my attention. And that was my middle name. Growing up, my middle name is Lynn. And growing up, I always felt that it was a girl's name, which it is. And so I was made fun of at school with all of that. And so I would just try to keep my middle name private. So maybe one or two of my buddies at that time knew, there's 2 of them that had grown up with me since I was little, but the rest didn't know. This old man walks up to me and says the one thing that you could say to get my attention. And he just starts right out. He says, your middle name is Lynn, isn't it? And I was like, and I knew exactly right then and there what was going to happen. And he starts laying into me about, you're not living life the way you should be living. And we get talking about Christianity, and I remember mentioning something about, well, my grandfather was a Baptist minister and blah, blah, blah. And he cuts me off and says, that's got nothing to do with you and your walk with the Father. Then I say, how do you know my middle name was Lynn? And he says this. He says, because mine is too. Then he fades away. He nods to me with a smile, and he fades away over into the middle of the restaurant. So he's standing behind the lines that are lining up at the counter to make your order, and the restaurant's full of people. And he's got his hands in his pocket, and he's looking around lovingly at all the people with a smile. Ladies, I looked away for a second and looked back, and he was gone. Gone. I looked at he didn't have time to make it to any of the doors. It was, I'm down and then I'm up. He's gone. He was standing right there. Now he's gone. So then I'm like, I just had an angel encounter. And this was my slap to get me back on track. But then also another question entered my mind. My eyes are blue. He said his name was Lynn. He said his middle name was Lynn as well. Was that me from the future? Was that me as an old man?
Wow.
Or was it the sense of where Jesus talks in the Gospel of John? He's praying to the Father, and he's like, "We are one." You know, we've basically been one since the foundation of earth and time and space and all of that. And so, was a meaning of we're all one in the heavenly sense or realm, or was that me from the future? Did I transport back and kind of slap my younger self? I don't know, ladies. I try not to get too crazy with it, but those were the thoughts that came through my brain. So in this theory or this theme, the dark versus the light, we like to put Bigfoot in a decent category, light until proven dark. The Wendigo that I'm going to go visit tomorrow, we're leaning that's on the dark side of things. Angel encounters, like I've had, and I've had multiple encounters because I've also had dark encounters as well. Demons jumping on me, dark cloaked figures, all of that. And so, if anyone at home, if you have an angel story, we have the real or fake series. We have the Dogman prophecy series. If you have an angel encounter, go ahead and type that up. Send it to me at bigfootsofamerica@gmail.com, and I will read those. I will start doing an angel encounters type series. So we wanted to announce that today as well.
I've also had an experience where back in the late 80s, I saw a demon face in the clouds during a distant thunderstorm that was lighting up clouds. And I came across a picture that was similar, that kind of looked like it. So I saved it. I don't know why I saved it, but just because it reminded me of what I saw. But
okay.
Yeah, it was a demon face in the clouds.
Yeah, I'd like to see that if you can. All right, so Val says Jesus was telling you to straighten up, Brian. Yes, Val, she remembers. She worked with me at that restaurant, the Whistle Stop in Birmingham, Michigan. The guy who owned it was Harold Christie. And it was sad because Harold Christie had bought it off of a woman called Catherine Griffith. And she owned the restaurant, and she was killed by someone demonically possessed. Somebody demonically possessed, got high on drugs or whatever, drunk, drove their car through Catherine's garage door and came in and physically assaulted her and threw her into a coffee table and killed her. So we know the dark side is dark. Now, I've said all this and the theme of the dark versus the light to say my next story, which will give everybody at home an idea of why I do this. Cheri, I was going to tell you privately, but I said, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and tell everybody on the show, and you at home can decide if I'm crazy or not. You can have your own opinion if this happened or not. But I had what I would call the biggest production dream of my life. Now, I've told all the fairy stories, the angel stories, all this kind of stuff, but I had what I call a big production dream. And in this dream, at the time, I had just moved to Port Huron, Michigan, and I was getting harassed by a dark cloaked figure at nighttime. So finally I prayed, hey, Lord, what's going on? This town is crazy. Can you give your angels charge, to protect me? So the next night, this cloaked figure comes in, is about to jump on me again, and angels jump on him. All of a sudden, all these angels circled around him, jumped on him, and took him away. Okay? Soon after that, I have a dream, and in the dream, Jesus comes down, and he takes me throughout the whole thumb of Michigan. And we come back to Port Huron, and he said, this territory, this area is overrun by evil spirits. And then he said, look into the water. And there's something out here called the Black River, which I talk about all the time. Now, this is very connecting to everything else in this area. He said, look down in the water. I looked down and there's this huge crocodile. Now, alligators, crocodiles have to do with evil spirits protecting beings going back to Egyptian times. Okay. He says, grab a hold of that crocodile and kill it. He said, tear it apart. I'm like, what? And Jesus goes, grab it. So I reached down and I grabbed this crocodile by its mouth and I tear it in half. And then all of a sudden, I start hearing there's screams all around. I'm in downtown Port Huron. I start hearing screams of all of these evil spirits. And before I know it, all these things come running at me. And I'm grabbing them and I'm tearing them apart, grabbing them, tearing apart, grabbing them, tear apart. And they are calling me a couple of names. In the hierarchy of God, the dark side, if you are in the light, the dark side knows your name. They are aware of you or they become aware of you. And to me, this is all biblical principles. And so they gave me a name. All these evil spirits started coming at me to attack me. And one at a time, I'm ripping them in half. And they are calling me the predator. I know this all sounds corny. They said, the predator is here, the predator is here, run, run, run. But some of them were coming at me and they killed me. So then it finally calms down and Jesus says, I'm giving you authority over this territory. He says to chase out the evil spirits. And then this dome of the Holy Spirit came down over Port Huron in the Thumb region, and I woke up. Now, you can believe that at home listening to that if you want. You have to, everybody's got their angel stories. Everybody's got their God stories or dreams. So Cheri, who earlier in the day was like, hey, Bryan, you got to be very careful about going up to the Wendigo and all this kind of stuff. Now, I do believe, like the Bible says, we're supposed to flee every appearance of evil, but we are also supposed to know who we are in God, in Christ. And that we do have authority. So now, I'm not going to be stupid. I'm not going to go up there kicking the haunted house door that supposedly houses what's called a legion of demonic spirits that basically took over this deer and formed a Wendigo and went after my eyewitness, which I'm going to read the account again here in a second. I'm not going to go and be stupid. I am going to do a drive-by and maybe a live video, so I have the information for this show. I have the information for the NCI show. For me, that's part of my job. But also, I'm not going to be stupid, number one, but also I know who I am in Christ. So if I keep things on the level before God and in prayer, if he, sometime between today and tomorrow, tonight and tomorrow, he says, don't go, I'm not going to go. But the other side of me is like, you're an evil spirit. You don't belong here. In the name of Jesus, go to Canada. Get out of my territory, go to Canada. Because Jesus, when he approached the legion, they said, hey, Son of God, we know who you are. Have you come to judge us before our time? And he said, no, be quiet. And then they asked him, hey, can we go? He cast him out of the man that was housing the legion of demonic spirits, and then cast him into a herd of pigs, which then ran off of a cliff. So there is that authority, okay? And so for me, look, I'm not going to go stirring a pot I'm not supposed to be stirring. But I'm also going to be like, hey, no, you're the one who doesn't belong here. So go to Canada. There's a lot of wilderness up there. Go hide out somewhere else. So that's how I'm approaching it tomorrow, Cheri, because Cheri, being a good friend of mine, was like, and Donna Copeland had said it before, hey, be careful, be careful. So part of the reason I'm doing all this Bigfoot stuff is I do believe I've been given authority by God. Now, I'm not going to get pompous and crazy about all that and be abusive with it. No, that's why I'm here. I want to hear your stories. I think the biggest thing that upsets me from the past is we never heard about any of this stuff growing up when we were kids. And then Cheri walks out in the woods, and all of a sudden there's a Bigfoot there. And this Bigfoot actually is just trying to communicate with her. But it scares Cheri half to death because we're not used to this sort of thing. And so to me, if we can spread the knowledge a little bit more, like I always say about my two boys, when they go out in the woods, hey, they know in the back of their mind, if they see a Bigfoot, don't freak out over it. Mm-hmm. Whew, that was long-winded. All right, so, Val says she's had a ghost. So, yeah, if you've had any ghost stories or any kind of angel stories, we want to hear about those. I want to do an angel encounters series where I read accounts or talk about, or with an eyewitness, whatever, and we can release those on video. So, Val says, hey, she's had a ghost in her house. She's seen a figure of a child here in her trailer when she first moved there. Yes, Val is reiterating about Harold Christie owning the restaurant and Catherine being murdered. Oh, wow. Wow. So she says the woman who was possessed went to go kill his wife. Because when the woman came out and the cops grabbed her, she said, Satan's in there, the devil's in there, you know? So it's like, look, something crazy is going on in your mind to say that. So this woman was cheating with a married man and went to go kill his wife. Wow. And she went to the wrong house and killed Catherine, our boss. Okay, Donna Copus, good stuff. The Wendigo, the Wen is nothing but evil. Good stuff, good stuff. All right, so let's get back to that for a moment. Thank you, ladies. I told you it'd be kind of a free-for-all jumping over a couple of different things. But so the eyewitness in the Port Austin area says he lived in the house since 2013. His fiance passed away. He actually believes his fiance may have gotten cancer from this house, from these dark entities. So he got really sick as well. And so he moved out of there. And he is convinced that whatever was in that house killed her. After her death, he didn't even... So after his fiance's death, he didn't even drive by this house for years. And he said, one day I thought, what the heck? I drove past it. I went to my property that he still owned, I believe, at the time, and had the incident. He went on there with his camper, had the incident with the Wendigo. The Wendigo came out of the woods, attacking his camper, shaking it. He came out with his shotgun, shot it point blank in the chest. So he says, now I won't drive past that house again. Okay, I'm reading past all the directions and the address of where all this is at. Okay. Oh, interesting. But he is willing to do a drive-by with me, and I hope to meet this guy. And just to get, for me, I want to have the understanding and the knowledge fully if I can get to it, but I don't want to stir the pot too much. So that is the situation there. Sorry, I'm just checking every note. All right, good stuff. So yeah, so we're dealing with the dark versus the light. So we talked about some dark stuff. Let's talk about something very light. I think tomorrow morning or sometime this weekend, I just interviewed an eyewitness on the Bigfoots of America podcast show, guy, Bigfoot encounter eyewitness, and he has written a wonderful children's book pertaining to Bigfoot. And it's called Billy Finds a Bigfoot. So this episode will probably come out tomorrow morning, I think. And this, he actually illustrated a Bigfoot. And it's really cool. And let me give you a quick breakdown of this book, and then you can watch the episode tomorrow. So Billy Finds a Bigfoot. The book description is get ready for an unforgettable adventure with Billy as he sets out on a mission to find the legendary white fox in the enchanting forest that borders his home. And in the book, Billy Finds a Bigfoot by Kev Lestarge, readers will be swept away into a world of wonder as they follow along with Billy on his quest to explore the secrets of the forest. As Billy wanders through the forest, observing the different colors of leaves, shapes of rocks, and all the animals that the woods call their home, he discovers something he never expected to see: Bigfoot. Suddenly, the legendary creature is no longer a myth, but a real resident of the forest, and Billy is overjoyed to make his acquaintance. And the reason why Kev Lestarge, I got a picture of him, whole packet right here. So if you're an author and you want to be on our show, go ahead and submit to bigfootsofamerica@gmail.com. This is Kev Lestarge, and he mainly wrote this book because his encounters with Bigfoot, and he kind of correlates the story of Billy going out in the woods looking for something, aka the white fox, and then stumbling into the realm of Bigfoot. And he says it's so important, this storyline is because so many hunters and hikers go out into the woods to experience nature, and they actually experience Bigfoot. So it's a really neat correlation between those two stories. That episode will be coming out tomorrow. All right, I got to take a breather and get a drink, ladies.
Hey, I've got a quick question for George Lunsford from Tuesday nights live. You guys were talking about he's had tried peanut butter with everything, right?
Yes.
Has he tried dipping dill pickles in peanut butter?
All right.
I've
Okay.
tried
So
it. It's not half bad, actually. It sounds disgusting, but it's actually not half bad.
no, that's spectacular because actually Daryl Denton is on watching. He says, "Great show, Brian and everybody." Daryl Denton is the one who got me onto the jelly donut thing. You know, bacon, jelly donuts, all of that. We talked about that before. So, Daryl Denton, glad you're watching the show. But reminder with George Lunsford is George Lunsford and the NHCI team realize that Bigfoot don't like the natural peanut butter because it's basically they want the stuff with the sugar, you know? But that's a great idea, Brenda, because the two things I'm going after is what Daryl Denton said. I've left at the last location where we had the sighting along the Cass River. What was that, a month ago? I went out there. Sighting out there, I left some jelly donuts and then carrots because when I was at the big West Virginia Bigfoot Museum, they said that some of their patrons with the local Bigfoot there trade carrots. So I grabbed a hold of Daryl Denton's suggestion of jelly donuts and the carrots, and I left those. When I'm with Matthew Sexton, we do the big red apples. But Daryl Denton and then the Mountain Man, between those two, we're going to bring out cooked bacon, get that smell going through the forest, and then also peaches. I'm going to do what the Mountain Man did, just get peaches and rub them all on a tree. And for him, that brought in the Sasquatch. They're smelling and trying to find where all the peaches were coming from. And then finally, he had given him a bushel, I believe it happened. All right, so now that we're talking about smells, I told you, girls, this would be a little bit unruly tonight. Here we go. I'm so excited about this. And people at home, we're going long because this is exciting. I have an eyewitness. Brian Russell says bacon grease on a stump or molasses with corn on a stump. So there you go. Going back, Donna Copus says there is a charm that you can carry to protect yourself from the wind. All right, Donna Copus, I want to talk to you before I go out to visit the Wendigo location tomorrow. Donna Copus also says the Watchers, and I love her name of her group, the Watchers out there for the Shawnee Sasquatch down there in southeastern Ohio. She says her Watchers like green onions. Very good. So we're talking about smells and everything. Brian Russell, Donna Copus, all this kind of stuff. Now let me find my notes. I have an eyewitness who recently he has taken other people out there, and I can't wait for it to be my turn and we get our schedule lined up. Yes, it's a location where we have found multiple footprints, tree structures, all that kind of stuff. But this eyewitness has taken another person out there, and they got kind of surrounded by Sasquatch in front of them. I think it was 3 black ones. Hold on. Let me just go ahead and pull this up. Let me get this right. I want to make sure we honor our eyewitnesses here. Let me find this person. Then we're going to talk about how he did it, how he got the Sasquatch to move in closer to basically, within 10 feet of them. All right. Here we go. I got to take another drink, ladies. I get so excited doing all this. All right, hold on. I'm almost there. Yeah, here we are. So this, I think I read last night or last week or the week before, but we're going to read it again because there's an elaboration to it. About 2 weeks ago, January, so-and-so, and me were at our spot. We set up near the canal, noticed that we had some trails coming in, going to the property on the other side. I know this is all vague right now. We did a trick to cover our scents. We did some calls of deer in distress. All right, so think about this at home. You've covered your scent. You're making a deer in distress call. He says, I think maybe close to dark, we watched 2 young males cross the creek into our location. My friend got scared, which startled them. Then the young males started to whoop and make calls. So basically, what is that? They're calling in the troops. If you got some young males and they're starting to whoop and calls, they've been shocked and they're calling in the rest of their clan. Because I'm going to tell you right now, Matthew Sexton, what a wonderful teacher. You see one Bigfoot, more than likely they're not alone. They run in clans, they protect each other, they protect their clan, not just from humans, but from other clans, because they're protecting their territory. So these 2 young males got startled, got a little bit nervous, started making whoops and calls, and then we heard the brush moving, and here comes the problem child Sasquatch, which is a cinnamon-colored one. He comes in, and this particular Sasquatch at this location is a little bit irrational. We'll leave it at that. But this comes in, probably the alpha, and then 2 other large black-colored ones move in as well. So right now, you're dealing with 5 Sasquatch in front of these 2 individuals, human individuals, eyewitnesses, and 3 behind. So you got the 2 young ones, 3 behind. Yeah, that's it. 2 in front, 3 behind. And so they said they're petrified. They didn't move. We watched them for a long time. This is when they started getting the infrasound, the headaches. One of these humans got sick. And after about 30 minutes, the Sasquatch finally moved off and we got out of there. The humans got out of there and headed towards the truck. All 3 of us didn't feel right for a long time with headaches. We missed 3 days. I missed 3 days of work after it. And it looks like they are wintering down on the property because this is always the question, at least here in Michigan. And it goes from clan to clan is what I'm learning, whether the clan beds down the whole winter or all year long, or if it's a migrating clan. We get back to the truck and slowly we start getting back to normal, but I end up missing 3 days of work and it really sucked. He said the wind was in our face and we got the stink of them. The cinnamon one was also acting very aggressive and did a bluff charge as well. So then I asked him, okay, how in the world did you, speaking about scents and food smells and bringing them in close, he also has sent me multiple pictures. Oh, I think I can do this. In that location, multiple deer carcasses, and one even had its face ripped open. So what you would call abnormal deer kills that Sasquatch have torn apart. So then I ask him, I've got all these pictures. And then you've even got, this is what we would call deer blind made by Sasquatch. They can get up underneath this and they're basically forming their bodies is obscured. So when the deer come walking by on the trail, the Sasquatch are hiding up under this huge, it's a down tree, and then they can nab the deer as they walk by. And we've talked about all that before. So when you walk down this trail that I've been there 2 or 3 times already, it is set up. It's like a gauntlet. When you walk through there, you've got down trees, deer blind here, down trees, and it's a lot like the Susan Moore area where this one stretch is like, oh, that's where they herd the deer in to a choke, to a bottleneck, and then it enables the Sasquatch to nab the deer easier. Now, there's also some new DNR signs up, and this is the conspiracy side of things, saying the road is closed. And what's this other one? Oh, the trail is closed, the road is closed, no trespassing. Okay, says that one of the dead deer literally had its face ripped off. The spine was twisted, so they spun that head around. Notice that the bones were broken as well, so bones snapped. The Sasquatch are eating them like big turkey legs. And ribs were pulled off one at a time as well. Wow. And then they also heard some very deep growls, and this is just before they moved in. So, then I respond, okay, gosh, we could talk all night long. We're going long, aren't we? I just got notified another eyewitness south of this location of cave systems where the guy has watched. So here's what I can say. This new location is in the Millington area. We have opening to caves. A gentleman, since he was a child, has witnessed a whole Sasquatch clan out there, found all sorts of evidence. And I'm speaking with him, but it's in conjunction with this sighting as well. And it's all along my west side of my Bigfoot triangle called the Cass River. All right. And one face ripped off. Now, my question to him was, how did you get them to move in so closely to you? And then he asked a question back. He says, hey, have you ever heard of Bigfoot wintering in man-made shelters? I respond to him, yes. We have multiple stories throughout Michigan, and I'm sure it's across the country. If you've got an old property and you know, great-grandfather used to live out there and there's an old barn out there, yeah, you may, and if it's near a water source, you may find Sasquatch bedding down in old barns or old campers. So another thing is this individual came upon a camper which may have been used as a bedding spot for Sasquatch. All right, so then I asked him, hey, how'd you get them to move in so close to you, to your location? He believes it's this. He says, we have a process. He says, we wash our clothes, first of all, with scent-free detergent. And then he said, we keep them separate and keep them in a container, Ziploc. He says, then we will mix in leaves with them. And he says, at times we've also smoked ourselves to get rid of our scent. But the big thing is he uses Pink's deer scent, and they get it all over their human bodies to cover up any sign of human scent, and then they do the deer in distress calls. And that is what brought them in so close. He says, we also try our best to not sound like humans trampling through the woods while walking. He says, when we first go in, we walk heel to toe, we pause, change direction, move ahead, pause, change direction again. He said, and when we've done this before, you'll see the Bigfoot peek up from behind trees or to see what it is that's coming down the trail. He said, we also alter our scent depending what time of the year. He says, we do some predator calls as well, that mainly the deer in distress calls. And we use that scent, which is used from the glands of harvested deer. Woo! So if you want to bring in Sasquatch to a close proximity like this eyewitness has, you have at it. I'm going to do it sometime, and I'm working up my nerve. All right, ladies. That was a lot. I didn't get through everything tonight, but I think we touched on it, and I like that theme. And going through George's book, I'm like, okay, which of these cryptids are not a threat and which are what we would call the dark ones or the ones in the light, the good ones? Any thoughts, ladies, before we close this out?
I was wondering about that, the verse in the Bible about God giving us authority over the animals. Would that include cryptids?
Oh, you're right. That's interesting because then that brings to mind the ancient trading rituals which the Native Americans used to have with Sasquatch. And somewhere along the line, I personally, in my gut, I feel like it might have to do with the Europeans coming over and bringing sicknesses that kind of scared the Bigfoot off because your family members start dying of your clan. My kids start dying, and we're getting out of Dodge. But yeah,
Can't
that
blame
makes
them.
sense, Brenda. All right, hold on. We're going to check in with all the comments, make sure I'm caught up with all that. Great stuff. Big shout out to all of our eyewitnesses, all of our participants. We love it when you guys chime in. Donna Copa says, hello, Daryl Denton. We did talk about bacon grease on stump. Yes, all that. That looks good. Facebook is caught up. See if I can scroll down. Ed Rock. Batten down the hatches, Brian. I think that's in pertaining to the tornado. So it must hopefully that's south of me because we have no more no more activity, no lights flicking. I'm gonna tell you right now though, that growl, I'm telling you, ladies, that growl was almost loud enough to get it on our mics right here. And I personally think that may have been Scout. All right. Yep, we've got storms moving through, when to go. In George's book, we talked about that. Thank you, Ed. Robin M2 2026 says, I think crows are about the age of a 3-year-old human. Oh, that's good to know. That their intelligent level is like a 3-year-old toddler, and they are very smart and remember. This is from our YouTube streaming. Ed says he feeds the crows also. They come every morning. They call every morning. And yes, I feed them peanuts in their shells. That's pretty cool. Does that give them something to do, make them feel more like they're, got to break it apart?
Mine are partial to the double peanuts. They leave the single.
That's awesome.
We're not gonna. We're not getting picky now.
Right. Where are the pistachio nuts? I'm getting a little bit sick of the walnuts here. Oh, that's funny. Nora Scott says, I just gave my Raven friend peanuts today. Okay. Thank you, Nora.
All right, Nora.
We got to do, it's going to be neat. Nora Scott, Deanna, so many of these people, I hope you can come out. Yes. We're getting closer now to announcing dates and locations for the 2 town hall meetings, one in Traverse City, one in Monroe. Cheri will talk about that more when we're off the air here in a moment.
Sure.
Robin M2 2026 says, Angel experienced through an orange orb a few hours after my husband passed. Check that out. Came into the bedroom window, hovered over the bed, and she was in and went back out about 4 feet across. Very benevolent, very loving. Okay, sweet. I love hearing that. Our angels, this is from Nora Scott. Our angels are with us always. So many of you can't imagine. Ira is her constant. Oh, that's interesting. And she knows many different angels. Nora Scott, we will keep talking to you. You have a wealth of knowledge as well. Brian, if you feel familiar with that man, right? If you feel familiar with that man and you feel could be you from there, then maybe. Oh, I get it. The McDonald's story. I'm like, wait. All right. Then maybe you did interact with you. Or I have been introduced by me from. I'm going to have to reread that later. I'm not sure if I fully explained Nora on that one, but that was pertaining to my angel story at McDonald's. And then knock it off, sending Dark to Canada. That's Because I said I was going to send the Wendigo to Canada. Nora Scott is like, hey,
Yeah,
knock
they
it
don't
off.
want it up
I'm
there
from
either.
Canada. I love it. Nora, I just thought there's so much wilderness up there that it could go and be unbothered, and we could be unbothered by it. Robin says, Brenda, we have always put dill pickles on peanut butter sandwiches as kids. That is
I've tried it before. It's actually not bad.
Fantastic.
Funny. Oh,
Awesome.
yeah, it's an odd combination, but yeah, not
Good
too bad.
stuff. Good stuff. Ed says I was using the wrong peanut butter. The Bears liked it, though. Sasquatch didn't like it, but the Bears did and got great pictures of bear. Jason Finch is chiming in. Wow, I'm sorry. I'm behind on all those. We're doing good here in Michigan. It's hard to scroll on this. So Jason Finch, thanks for chiming in. What else you got to say? I'm sorry for missing your show. That's okay. You're in now. We're running late. Taking care of his parents, Jason. You cannot contest against that. We take care of our loved ones. Cheri's been through a lot lately. Tomorrow, Sunday is the anniversary of my past father's birthday. I miss him so much.
No.
Jason Finch says, good morning, Cheri and Brenda.
Morning.
Hello.
Yeah. All right. We're going to wrap it up, ladies. Anything else?
Good here.
Good here.
Awesome. All right, everybody at home, we always have so much fun here on Friday nights, and we can't wait to see you again next week. So this is Bigfoot's of America podcast show signing off. Follow Cheri Radu on Facebook. Follow Bryan Sawyer on Facebook. Follow Brenda Goodwin on Facebook. We have so much stuff coming in 2026. We really don't know how we're going to get it all done, but that's what we're trying to do. But we're bringing free, fun entertainment. So everybody at home, have a wonderful weekend. Stay tuned tomorrow if I do have a live show about the Wendigo, maybe visiting that location. So everybody, we'll see you next week. Bye.
Have a good night.